Welcome back to Titan's Legacy. In the last episode, we learned how an empire begins. Today, we discover how to keep it. Ready to step into the mind of a Titan? Let's unlock the 17th letter. You hold the seeds of success in your hands. May 29, 1926. Dear John, just yesterday, I received a letter from a young man who aspires to become rich. In his letter, he begged me to answer a question. He lacks capital. How can he start a business and become rich? God, he wanted me to show him the direction of his life. But teaching others doesn't seem to be my forte. But I couldn't deny his sincerity. I still wrote back and told him that, you need capital, but you need common sense. Common sense is more important than money. A poor son, who wants to start a business, often lacks capital. If he is afraid of failure, he will hesitate, move slowly like a snail, and even stop on the road to success and never move forward. So I specifically reminded him in my reply to the young man, the road from poverty to wealth is always smooth. It is important that you firmly believe that you are your greatest asset. You must exercise faith and keep exploring the reasons for your hesitation until faith replaces doubt. You must know what you don't believe in yourself, you can't achieve. Belief is what moves you forward. Everyone who desires success should realize that the seeds of success have been sown all around him. As long as he realizes this, he can get what he wants. In the letter, I told the young man an Arab story that I believe would benefit everyone. This is what the old man told me. Once upon a time, there was a Persian named El-Hafid, who lived not far from the Indus River. He owned a large orchard, hundreds of acres of fertile land, and flourishing gardens. He was a contented man, and he was very rich. Because he was rich, he was very content. One day, an old monk came to visit him, sat by his fire, and said to him, "You are rich and you live comfortably. But if you have a handful of diamonds, you will buy the land of the whole country. If you own a diamond mine, you will use the influence of that wealth to put your child on the throne." After hearing the old monk's alluring words, Hafid went to bed that night. He became a poor man, not because he had lost everything, but because he was beginning to become dissatisfied. Because he was dissatisfied, he felt he was a poor man. He thought, I want to have a diamond mine. So he couldn't sleep all night. Early next morning, he ran to find the monk. The old monk was awakened early in the morning and was very unhappy. But Hafid didn't care about that. He shook the old monk out of his sleep and said to him, "Can you tell me where to find diamonds?" "Diamonds? What do you want diamonds for?" "I want to have great wealth," Hafid said. "But I don't know where to find diamonds." Oh, the old monk understood. He said, "You can find diamonds in the sand, as long as you find a river in the mountain flowing through the white sand." "Do you really think there is such a river?" A lot. "If you go out and look for it, you will definitely find it." "I will," Hafid said. So he sold the farm, got his loan back, gave the house to his neighbor, and set out to look for diamonds. Hafid first went to the Moonlight Mountains to find it, then to Palestine, then to Europe. He eventually spent all his money and became worthless. He stood like a beggar on the coast of Barcelona, Spain. When he saw a huge wave crashing onto the shore, this poor creature, having gone through all the ups and downs and sufferings of his life, could not resist the despair and jumped into the sea. Shortly after his death, the heir to his estate pulled a camel out to the garden to drink water. When the camel dipped its nose into the clear stream in the garden, the heir found in the shallow white sand at the bottom of the stream a gleaming stone with a strange light. He reached down and touched a black stone with shiny spots on it that emitted rainbow light. He took the strange stone into the house, placed it on the mantelpiece, then went back to work and completely forgot about it. A few days later, the old monk, who told Hafid where to find the diamonds, visited Hafid's heir. Seeing the light from the stones on the shelf, he immediately ran over and exclaimed in surprise, "This is a diamond! This is a diamond! Has Hafid returned?" "No, he hasn't come back, and it's not a diamond. It's just a stone that I found in my back garden." "Young man, you have made a fortune. I know diamonds, they are really diamonds." So they ran to the garden together, picked up the white sand at the bottom of the stream with their hands, and found many more beautiful and more valuable diamonds than the first. This is how the Golconda diamond mine in India was discovered. This is the largest diamond mine in human history, and its value far exceeds that of the Kimberley mine in South Africa. The diamond placed in the crown of the British Queen, and the world's largest diamond placed in the crown of the Russian Emperor, were both collected from that diamond mine. John, whenever I remember this story, I can't help but sigh for Hafid. If Hafid had stayed at home, dug fields, and gardened instead of looking elsewhere, he wouldn't have been a beggar, starving, or even jumped into the sea and died. He already had diamonds all over the place. Not every story is meaningful, but this Arab story gave me a valuable life lesson. Your diamonds are not lying between mountains and seas. If you are determined to dig them, they are right in your backyard. It is important to sincerely believe in yourself. Everyone has a certain ideal, and this ideal determines the direction of their efforts and judgments. In this sense, I think that a person who does not believe in himself is like a thief. Because anyone who does not believe in himself and does not develop his full abilities can be said to be stealing from himself. Only by getting rid of this behavior of stealing from ourselves can we climb to the top. I hope that the young man, who is eager to get rich, can think about the teachings contained in it. Love your father. The 18th letter, I have no right to be poor. July 26, 1906, Dear John. There are many tragedies caused by paranoia and pride, and the same is true for those who create poverty. Many years ago, at the Fifth Avenue Baptist Church, I happened to meet a young man named Hanson, a gardener who was living in a slum. Perhaps Mr. Hanson, who thought poverty is a virtue, showed his character and said to me, Mr. Rockefeller, I feel it is my duty to discuss a matter with you, that money is the root of all evil, the Bible says. At that moment, I knew why Mr. Hanson had no connection to wealth. He learned life lessons from his misunderstanding of the Bible, but he didn't realize it. I didn't want the poor young man to sink deeper into his narrow-minded quagmire, so I told him, Young man, I have been taught all sorts of Christian matters since I was a child, and I have used them for my code of conduct. I think you do the same, but my memory seems to be better than yours. You forgot there is a word before that sentence, love. The love of money is the root of all evil. What did you say? Hanson's mouth was wide open as if he was about to swallow a whale. I wish he had that much appetite for money. Yes, young man, I said and patted his shoulder. The Bible, rooted in human dignity and love, is a homage to the highest mind in the universe. You can quote it without fear and put faith in your life. So, when you quote biblical wisdom directly, you quote the truth, the love of money is the root of all evil. I reminded Hanson, if you have money, you can benefit your family, your friends, give them a happy life, and also benefit society, saving lonely and helpless people. Then money becomes the source of happiness. Young man, every penny you have in your hand increases your power to determine your future destiny. Go make money, I persuaded him. Don't let those paranoid concepts lock your powerful hands. You should spend time on getting rich because with money comes the power. New York is full of opportunities to get rich, and you should get rich, and you can get rich. I didn't know if Hanson would accept my advice. Otherwise, I would feel sorry for him. He looked very strong, and his head was not stupid. I always think that people should take the time to make themselves rich. Of course, there are some things that are of more value than money. When we see a tomb covered with autumn leaves, we can't help but feel an indescribable sadness because we know that some things are indeed nobler than money. Money is not necessarily everything, but in our world, many things are inseparable from money. Love is the most wonderful thing God has given us, but a lover with a lot of money can make love happier. When a person says, I don't want money, it's like saying, I don't want to serve my family, my friends, and my fellow citizens, which is ridiculous. I believe in the power of money, and I support everyone to make money. However, religion has a strong bias against this idea because some people believe that being God's poor is a great honor. I once heard a man pray in a prayer meeting that he was very grateful that he was a God's poor person. And I couldn't help but think to myself, what would happen to this man's wife if she heard such nonsense? From her husband's feelings, she must have thought that she had married the wrong man. I don't want to see this kind of poor man of God, and I don't think God wants that either. I can't say that the amount of money earned can be used as a criterion of success in life, but you can measure a person by his contribution to society. The more you earn, the more you contribute. When I think that I have made countless people on the road to prosperity forever, I feel like I have a great life. I believe that God's diamonds are for his people, not for Satan and his ilk. There is nothing wrong with making money, a lot of money, as long as we make it the right way and don't let money drag our noses. Some people don't have money, because they don't understand money. They think money is cold and hard. But money is neither cold nor hard, it's soft and warm. It makes us feel comfortable, and it matches the colorful clothes we wear. The reason why I have success today is because of my past beliefs. Honestly, when I felt that the world was suffering from poverty, I had a belief that I should be rich and I had no right to be poor. Over time, this belief has become as hard as steel. When I was young, it was the time when the idea of worshipping gold was deified. At that time, tens of thousands of gold seekers from all directions flocked to California with the dream of getting rich. Although people later discovered that the gold rush was just a trap, it aroused the desire to get rich in millions of people, including me, a teenager at that time. My family was in difficulty, and I had often had to receive help from kind-hearted people. My mother was a person with great self-esteem, and she wanted me to take on the responsibility of being the eldest child building this family. My mother's desires and teachings have nurtured in me a lifelong sense of responsibility. I vowed, I can't be poor. I want to make money, and I will use wealth to change my family's fate. In my childhood dream of getting rich, money was not only a tool for my family to have a prosperous and worry-free life, but money could be exchanged for dignity, morality, and status for me. These things are much more interesting than luxury, grand houses, and beautiful clothes. My understanding of money has strengthened my belief that I want to make money and become rich, and this belief has given me an incomparable fighting spirit to pursue wealth. My son, there is nothing more pitiful than people who work hard all their lives just to make money. I know how to make money. Let money be my slave, not let me be a slave of money. That's how I do it. Love, your father. The 19th letter, be the number one. March 15, 1931. Dear John. A man without ambition does not achieve great things. This is a secret of success that my car king friend, Mr. Henry Ford, confided to me when he came to see me yesterday. I really admire this rich man from Michigan. He is a persistent and determined guy. He had almost the same experience as I. He worked as a farmer, worked as an apprentice, and co-founded a factory. Through his struggles, he eventually became one of the richest people in America during this era. In my opinion, Mr. Ford is the founder of a new era. No other American was able to change the American way of life as completely as he did. Just look at the cars on the street, and you will know that I am not praising him, as he has transformed the car from a luxury item to a car that almost everyone can afford. And those miracles turned him into a billionaire. Of course, he also made my purse puff up a lot. A man must have a goal or ambition to live. Otherwise, he is like a ship without a rudder that drifts forever, and only reaches the beach of disappointment, failure, and frustration. He wants to create a world where everyone can enjoy the car. It seems unbelievable, but he succeeded. He became the master of the global car market, and made an incredible profit for Ford. According to this guy, that's not making cars, that's printing money. It's not difficult for me to imagine Ford's happy mood when he is both rich and famous as the king of cars. Ford's achievements prove one of my life beliefs: wealth is proportional to purpose. If you have big ambitions and lofty goals, your mountain of wealth will rise to the sky. If you just want to get by, then you will only be a generation of rats and achieve nothing. Even if wealth is close to you, you can only receive very little. Before Ford's success, many car manufacturers were more powerful than him, but many of them went bankrupt. People are created with a purpose. One is either planning to succeed or planning to fail. This is the experience of my life. I never seemed to lack ambition since I was very young. Becoming the richest person has always been my ambition and dream. This seems a little too big for a poor boy, but I think a goal should be great because to be successful, you have to be stimulated, and a great goal can give you all the power and stimulation. Losing stimulation means no longer having the strength to push you forward. Don't make small plans because it doesn't inspire the mind. I remind myself often. Of course, the chance to be great doesn't fall like a rushing Niagara waterfall, but slowly, drop by drop. The difference between greatness and smallness is the realization that if you expect greatness, you must work toward it every day. But for a poor boy, how could this great dream become a tangible reality? Is it by working hard for others? This is a stupid idea. I believe that working hard for yourself will make you rich, but I don't believe that working hard for others will definitely lead to success. Before moving into the ranks of millionaires, I found that many poor people around me were the hardest working people. The reality is so cruel that very few people become rich working for their bosses. No matter how hard they work, the salary earned by working for the boss can only keep the employee surviving. Although employees may make a lot of money, it is still difficult to become rich. I have always regarded, working hard will make you rich, as a lie and never regarded working for someone else as the best way to accumulate significant wealth. On the contrary, I strongly believe that working for yourself can make you rich. Every action I have taken is in line with my big dream. When I left school and looked for a job, I set a goal for myself, to enter a first-class company and become a first-class employee. Because the first-class company gave me a first-class experience, shaped my first-class abilities, and also allowed me to earn a good salary, which was crucial to creating my future career. And all of those were definitely the strongest foundations on my road to success. Of course, working in a big company allowed me to think in a big company way, which was very important. Therefore, I admired big companies, and I wanted to go to famous companies. This definitely made me miserable. The first time I went to a bank, I had bad luck and was rejected. I went to a railway company, but still came home in a hurry. And the weather seemed to be against me, and the heat was unbearable. But despite everything, I continued my search. In those days, looking for a job was my only occupation. Every morning at 8 a.m., I dressed as neatly as possible and left my place to start a new round of interview appointments. For 4 weeks, I ran through the listed companies and found nothing. This looks bad, doesn't it? But no one can stop you from moving forward. The biggest person holding you back is yourself. You are the only one who can do it forever. I told myself, if you don't want others to steal your dreams, stand up as soon as you stumble upon setbacks. I was not depressed or discouraged. The constant setbacks strengthened my determination. I started again, one by one, and some companies even rejected me 2 or 3 times. God never abandoned me, and this persistent job-seeking journey finally came to an end. 6 weeks later, on September 26, 1855, I was hired by the Hewitt and Tuttle Company. This day seemed to decide everything in my future. To this day, whenever I ask myself what would have happened if I hadn't gotten that job, I often shudder because I know what that job gave me and what would have happened if I had lost it. So all my life, I've celebrated September 26th as a day of rebirth, and I feel more emotional than on my birthday writing this. I also feel emotional. A person is like a bicycle in function. Unless you move forward and toward your goal, you will stumble and fall. 3 years later, I left Hewitt and Tuttle with abilities and confidence beyond those of ordinary people and co-founded Clark and Rockefeller with Mr. Clark, starting the history of working for myself. The feeling of being your own boss is wonderful. It cannot be described in words. Of course, I didn't bask in the triumph of being a boss. At 18, I told myself, my future depends on the days that pass, and I end up being the richest man in America, and I'm not far off. There is still a long way to go, and I have to keep working hard for myself. Being the richest person is the basis for my efforts and the strength to motivate myself. Over the past few decades, I have been a believer in the pursuit of excellence, and I have often been motivated by one sentence: no one remembers who came in second. If you understand that, you'll think it's no surprise that I rule the oil industry as the undisputed king. Each of us lives in hope, but I live more in achieving goals. My goal in life is to be number one, and this is also the life plan that I have tried to set and follow. All my efforts and actions are loyal to my goals and life rules. God gave us smart minds and strong muscles not to make us losers, but to make us great winners. 20 years later, a federal court dissolved our big, happy family, but every time I think about what I created, I get excited. A great life is the process of conquering excellence. We must move towards this goal without fear of pain, with a firm attitude, and a willingness to stumble on the long road. Love, your father. The 20th letter, take risks to take advantage of opportunities. November 2nd, 1936, Dear John. Tomorrow, maybe before tomorrow, someone will live a rich life. The newspaper said his name was David Morris, who had just gotten lucky at the casino and won a lot of money. He is the master in the casino, and at the same time, he posted a life motto of this gambler: curiosity can discover opportunities, and adventure can take advantage of opportunities. You know, I have always disliked people who are addicted to gambling, but I couldn't help but admire this man. I even believe that with his almost philosopher's brain, if he joins the business world, he will become an excellent person. That does not mean good gamblers make good businessmen. In fact, I hate those who view business as a casino. But I do not reject the spirit of adventure because I know a rule: the higher the risk, the greater the reward. Galloping the sea of commerce is the greatest adventure that life offers for everyone. My life's trajectory has been a rich adventure, and if I have to find out which adventure was the most decisive and most relevant to my future, it would be breaking into the oil industry. Before investing in the oil industry, my agricultural sales business was doing very well. If I had continued, I fully would have expected to become a major dealer. But all that changed when Mr. Andrews, a lighting expert, told me, "John, kerosene burns brighter than any oil, and it will replace others. Think about it." Well, John, what a big new market it would be if we could put our feet in it. The more things I hold in my hands, the more power I have. This was my opportunity, and letting it go was not only money losing but also eroded my power in the wealth arena. I told Andrews, I do. We invested $4,000, which was a huge amount of money for us to start an oil refining business. I didn't think about failure when the money was poured into it, even though the oil business had created many millionaires at the time, but it also made many people bankrupt. I plunged into the oil refining industry and worked hard. In less than a year, oil refining brought us more profit than agricultural products and became the company's largest business. At that moment, I realized that it was my courage and adventurous spirit that opened up a new way for me to make money. At that time, there was no other industry that could make you rich overnight like the oil industry. This prospect greatly stimulated my desire to make a lot of money, and it also gave me the opportunity that I had been waiting for a long time. I told myself, I have to hold it tight. It can take me to the kingdom of dreams. But my next business strategy, which was to aggressively expand the oil industry, angered my partner, Mr. Clark. Clark was an ignorant, conceited, and weak man. He was afraid of failure and advocated a conservative business strategy, which was completely contrary to my business philosophy. In my eyes, money is like, if you take it out, you can do a lot of things, but if you hide it, it stinks. Clark is not a good businessman. He doesn't know the real value of money. When we have differences in important things, our cooperation will come to an end. Clark became an obstacle in my path to success, and I had to kick him out. To break up with him, this was an important moment. If you want to win, you must understand the value of risk, and you must have the vision to create your own luck. Breaking up with Mr. Clark was certainly a risk for me. And before I decided to risk everything and get into the oil business in a big way, I had to be sure that oil wasn't going away. At that time, many people thought that oil was a short-lived bloom and could not last long. I certainly hoped that the oil supply would not run out. Otherwise, my investment would be worthless, and I could end up worse than the gambler in the casino. But the information I had received made me optimistic that the oil source was not going away. It was time to say goodbye. Before saying goodbye to Mr. Clark, I secretly pulled Mr. Andrews over and said to him, "We're going to be lucky. There's a lot of money waiting for us." Andrews did not disappoint me. A few days later, I pulled a few more banks to support me. In February of that year, after a series of preparations, I asked Mr. Clark to break up. And although he was reluctant, I made up my mind. Finally, we all agreed to auction the company to the highest bidder. Even now, thinking of the scene at the auction site, I still feel excited. It feels like gambling money in a casino, full of thrill and excitement. It was a big gamble. I bet money, and I bet my life. The company started the auction from $500, but it quickly climbed to several thousand, and then slowly climbed to $50,000. This price exceeded my estimate for the refinery. But the auction price kept increasing, starting to exceed $60,000, and then gradually soaring to $70,000. That was when I started to get scared. I was worried about whether I could buy this company, a business I built with my own hands, with such a large amount of money. But I quickly calmed down, and I warned myself like lightning, don't be afraid. Because you have made up your mind, you must move forward. The competitor offered $72,000, and I did not hesitate to offer a price of $72,500. At this point, Mr. Clark stood up and shouted, "I'm not adding anymore. John, it's yours." Dear John, that was the moment that defined my life, and I felt it had an extraordinary meaning. Of course, I paid a high price for breaking up with Mr. Clark. I gave Clark half of the agency company and $72,500. But what I won was freedom and a bright future. I became my own master, my own employer, and no longer had to worry about mediocre people getting in my way. When I was 21 years old, I owned the largest oil refinery in Cleveland, and I have become one of the largest oil refiners in the world. Thanks to that action, the success of my life began. It's almost certain that safety first won't make us rich. And to get money, we'll always need to accept the necessary risks that come with it. Life is like that. There is no such thing as maintaining the status quo. If you don't advance, you will retreat. It's that simple. I see caution as not the perfect formula for success. No matter what we do, we must choose between risk and caution. Sometimes, the chances of winning by taking risks are much greater than being cautious. All businessmen pursue profits and wealth. They must rely on creating resources and taking resources from others, and even forcing others to give up resources to enrich themselves. Therefore, taking risks is an indispensable means for businessmen to conquer the market. If you want to know how to take risks without failure, you only need to remember one sentence: plan boldly and execute carefully. Love, your father. Knowledge is only potential power. Action is real power. If you are prepared to act, declare, "I am ready," in the comments. If you found value in this video, do me a favor, hit like and subscribe to unlock the wisdom from the next letters. Are you brave enough to hear the truth? I'll see you there.